days ago, I was sent a video link to YouTube by the health practitioner Michael Doherty. It was a part of a Senate debate which was going on at the time with Paschal Mooney, the Senator, standing up before the House, raising questions about the HPV vaccination. This is the Gardasil Vaccination for cervical cancer for young girls aged between 12 and 17. Now, you know more about this than most, and I want to talk to you in a moment about your daughter. I may play this clip. It's a couple of minutes long, and I might try and get it up online, because he pretty much tears strips out of the minister, out of the HSE, for instance, not giving parents information leaflets, not telling them about the different side effects of this vaccination. There are 21 of them in total, of how young girls like your daughter have been confined to bed because of this, because of the side effects of this vaccination. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? Because you're living this.
Absolutely.
With Ciara.
That's right, yeah.
Right, okay. Pick up the story and tell me your story, or indeed Ciara's on her behalf. She's 22 now, but she was 16 then.
That's right, she was. She was given the vaccine when she was 16, and is given over 3 doses, so she would have had it in the April, June and December.
Whose idea was that?
Well, at the time, nowadays it's given through the HSE programme, which is done through the schools when the girls are in first year. At the time it hadn't come out through the schools, and I had been reading, there was a lot of newspaper coverage at the time about, that the girls needed to have this vaccine done. So we did a bit of research and we decided that we would get her vaccinated. So she was done with her GP.
Right. Okay. You know now when it happens in school, you don't know the situation with regards to whether parents are told that it's going to happen or a consent form is signed or anything?
There is a consent form signed, yes. And obviously you don't have to consent to it if you don't want to have your child vaccinated.
Right. Okay. Okay. I wonder what the take-up rate on that is.
What I hear from, from different things from the HSE is that they're looking for an 80% take-up.
Right.
Well, I presume they're looking for 100% take-up, but that I think it might be around 80%.
Okay, so she had it in 3 doses under the guidance of your GP.
That's right, yeah.
Tell me some more.
Well, for the first one, I didn't think there was anything untoward with her. After the second one, she started, now this is in retrospect, in that I'm looking back now and I'm saying, yes, that's when she got sick. So after the second one, she became unwell a few weeks later. She was very tired, and she wasn't very keep fit and working out and all that, and she just couldn't do anything. She was very tired. She was starting to feel weak, and she was, one day then in particular we had to take her to South Dock because we couldn't hold her up. She kept falling, and kind of just very, very unwell.
Did she complain?
Did we complain?
No, did she complain about being exhausted?
Oh, she did, yeah. I mean, I would take her to the GP, they would have done bloods, everything was fine, so they were putting it down to, teenage 16, 17-year-old girls, just tired. So we did then get the 3rd dose because we never made any association with this.
I know.
So then she became quite unwell from then on, in that she'd had a lot of palpitations, she was very tired, she'd get sore throats, her period stopped, she had terrible stomach issues, and she was just generally weak a lot of the time, tired, headaches, a lot of brain fog. Now, as time has progressed, now she's become a lot worse.
I wish I had written all of those symptoms down as you were going through them there, but let me just stop you now. Those 3 vaccinations, did they come very close together?
She had it in April, June and December.
Of 2009?
That's right, yeah.
What class was she in then?
She was in 3rd year and 4th year.
So she was doing junior cert?
Yes, yeah. So she would have just done the junior cert before the first one, and then the other 2 were when she was in 4th year. Okay,
fatigue, sores, lots of different ailments, and you just ended up there talking about brain fog.
Yes.
What's that?
Lack of concentration, trying to tell me something, and then she kind of say, oh, I can't remember what I'm trying to say, Mum. Or, even her concentration levels.
Did you start thinking of a tumour or something like this?
Well, I suppose it was really last year when she did eventually become diagnosed with a condition known as postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which is known as POTS. When she became diagnosed with that, she was in a very bad state.
So did she plough through the junior cert? Did she go in?
She ploughed through the junior cert. She did her leaving cert, and she did actually go to college, but she's had to give all that up now.
But even through the junior cert and leaving cert and heading off to college, was she constantly severely fatigued?
She was.
And was she plagued with all of these other ailments?
She was, yeah.
Right.
But she kept going, because she'd be, no, I'll be fine, I'll keep going now, and we'll do this, Mum, and I'll be fine. But we weren't getting any answers. She had a lot of nausea, so she said, if the doctor tells me once more I have a virus, I'll scream.
Yeah, and did anyone
constantly have a virus.
Did anyone give you any information as to the possible side effects of this Gardasil?
No, and as I say, we never associated with it at the time. And I don't, I did, because we got it with our GP. We didn't have any of the information that you would get, if you were going into the HSE.
So nobody sat across to you and said, look, I'm obliged by law to tell you of these different side effects. You just need to be aware of them, keep an eye out for this if you know them. Nothing?
Nothing, no.
Okay. So then, she went to college, she had all of these ailments. Nobody was in any way concerned when her period stopped?
Well, yes. So she was told, well, look, maybe you might go on the pill for a while just to get things normal. She was very reluctant to do that. But she did for a while, and then she said, no, I don't want, this isn't what she wanted to be doing. She didn't want to be taking medication that she didn't need to be taking. So, she was diagnosed in last year with polycystic ovary, which would account for the lack of periods.
Okay, as a result of taking Gardasil, you believe?
Well, I don't know that. Okay. I wouldn't be medically qualified to say that.
But what you do know is, eventually, what was she doing in college?
She was doing psychology and WIT.
And did she eventually just say, I can no longer do this?
Absolutely. She said, Mum, I spent the year asleep.
Literally at lectures?
Yeah, she said, and some days she'd go to her lecture, she'd come home, she'd be asleep until the next morning. And she didn't want to be, she wasn't at home with us only at the weekends. And, I'd say she was kind of, didn't want to be saying, everything was bad.
So she would travel, she went to college in Cork, but lives where?
No, she went to college in Waterford.
Waterford and lives in Cork, so she would travel home to you for the weekends?
Yeah, she'd be home for the weekends.
So she would come home and literally sleep the entire weekend?
She would be absolutely exhausted.
So were you and your husband not beside yourself with worry then?
Well, we didn't know what to do because, we took her to the doctor. She had ended up then having a lot of palpitations, so we've taken her to a cardiologist. She's been at numerous consultants, cardiologist, gastrologist, endocrinologist, neurologist, and nobody could come up with anything. So in the end, they said, are you sure that it's not all in your head? Would you see a psychiatrist? And she said, do you know what? I will, because then I can prove that it's not in my head. So then she became very unwell, and we had to have her admitted, and she was then eventually diagnosed with POTS.
Right. And then she came back home again, did she?
Oh yeah, she gave up college. She had to give up college. She had a part-time job as well. She had to give that up. So for the last year and a half now, she's at home with me all day, every day.
How does she spend her 24 hours of each day and night?
Well, when she does get up, she, in that she tries to get up at maybe 10 or 11, she's literally sitting on the seat, trying to keep her feet up, because it's all about blood flow and, standing is a problem.
What do you mean blood flow? What?
A lot of the blood pools to her feet and to her, to the extremities. This is all part of POTS now. It flows to her feet, to her hands, so she's not getting enough blood into the brain.
So she falls over then?
Pardon?
She falls over, I'd imagine.
Yeah, she would faint and get very... If she doesn't really faint, she gets very weak, and she, you know, I suppose we're kind of used to trying to catch her now before she hits the ground.
My God,
yeah.
That's absolutely unbelievable.
So it's, well, it's heartbreaking to watch her, and, you know, for her to be, you know, for a girl who would have, you know, been quite positive about studying and working and being out, to be sitting at home with me all day.
Yeah, well, it's nice to be with your
nice to be in your 24/7.
No, not 24/7. Not when you have a life to live.
Absolutely, Emma. She's 22. She should be, you know, doing all the other things that 22-year-olds are doing.
So, does she ever go out?
She would go out. You know, she might meet a friend in town, maybe in the afternoon. But I would stay in town in case she becomes unwell. You know, that she couldn't. You know, that I'd have to bring her home.
Right, okay. Would she go in for a cup of coffee or to meet friends or to do a bit of fashion shopping or something? Go to a movie?
No. She wouldn't be able to, she was not able for walking around, you know, to go into town and wander around. She can't, because with POTS, standing and walking is a big issue.
Are you making a connection between the Gardasil vaccination to prevent cervical cancer and your daughter's condition now?
Yes. I am. I suppose for a couple of reasons. We came across a group called Regret.ie. Exactly, yeah. And we met other parents with daughters who had similar symptoms to Ciara. And it all made sense.
But what is this? 1 in 100? 1 in 1,000? 1 in 10,000?
In Ireland, well, no, all I can say is at the moment in Regret there are 100 girls with symptoms, with wide and varying symptoms. Not all of them have POTS. A lot of them have a lot of pain. I know Ciara now, some days she couldn't touch her arms or her legs because she's just in so much pain.
So you say wide and varying symptoms, not as severe as Ciara's?
Some of them would be as severe. Some of the girls have, there are some girls who have POTS. There are other things, you know, lots of them would have stomach issues.
But she's on the severe end of the scale.
Well, I would think so.
By comparing it to other girls on Regret.ie.
Yes.
Okay. Hold on there, Virginia. I'm due a commercial break. And I want to pick up the conversation with you and with Michael Doherty, and also a little bit of the audio that I referred to a little earlier on after these. Our lines are open on 1850 104 106, guys, if you'd like to contribute.
The Neil Prendeville Show with Nissan. The Nissan Qashqai class-leading resale value means you'll never look back. Red FM.
Lines open on 1850 104 106. It's Michael Doherty, the health practitioner, who sent me this original link to the Senate piece on Gardasil. Michael, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
In that report that you saw, that piece you sent me, Paschal Mooney talks of young girls aged between 12 and 17 being given the vaccinations, resulting in being confined to bed, confined to psychiatric units in a hospital, suffering terminal fatigue, having their career, either sporting or indeed employment careers, ended and confined to their beds at home. He claims that pharmaceutical companies are being protected by health practitioners. I mean, this is fairly heavy-duty stuff.
Yes. I think that, yes, Neil, I suppose, look, nobody, like Paschal Mooney is saying, nobody is saying that these vaccines don't have a role. So I think it's very important to make that very clear. Nobody's saying that the vaccines don't have a role. I mean, there's something like 72 million of these vaccines, particular vaccines that have been given. But I mean, one of the key things is that, like, it was in July this year, you know, the heading was very clear: worries about HPV vaccine. European Union Medicines Agency investigating reports of rare but severe reactions. So I mean, the reality is that, you know, the European Medicines Agency announced that it has launched the safety review of 3 vaccines, the HPV, after receiving reports, and some of them POTS and lots of other symptoms associated with it. You know, so it's a kind of a thing that needs to be addressed. I think that there's definitely, I see a lot of kids, a lot of parents bringing kids to us who are saying that when the child had the vaccine or the daughter had the vaccine, some of them were rushed to hospital, Some of them ended up chronically fatigued and a lot of that kind of stuff. And if you look at some of the symptoms associated that's published on the WebMed website, you'll see that from nausea, fainting, headaches, arm pain, severe side effects or adverse events are uncommonly reported, but they include blood clots, seizures, Guillain-Barré syndrome, which would account for a lot of that chronic fatigue, systemic exertion, intolerance diseases, so like chronic fatigue syndrome. So
this is you're describing Virginia's daughter, isn't that right, Virginia? That's all of Ciara and lots more besides.
Yep, that would be her. Yep, absolutely.
So because when I spoke to Paschal Mooney about this because I know Paschal, and when I saw the piece that he had raised in the channel, I think he was great. He took great courage to do that because sometimes it's difficult to get people voicing the opinion of the ordinary person because from Leo Varadkar's perspective, the Minister for Health, well, he's going to say there's no link, and this is a standard line. But, he cannot stand up and say that when you have the European Medicines Agency now announcing that they have launched a safety review of this. So he has to take that on board and realise that, parents out there, in our schools, they see that the value of vaccines. Of course, every parent sees the value of vaccines, no matter what it is. But if a child has a vaccine reaction or a vaccine injury, and they report that to their medical GP, the GP just can't say, there's no link and there's nothing to do with it.
And you're 100% sure, Virginia, that there was nothing else going on at the time apart from this vaccination? Like she hadn't been overseas, she didn't pick up a bug, she didn't get an infection?
No, nothing.
You're absolutely convinced
I'm absolutely convinced, yeah.
And what have they said will happen as the years go by with Ciara? Will she improve?
Well, as regards, if you're looking at a POTS diagnosis, there really is no guarantee of any improvement. That's not to say that she won't improve, but, from where we're looking at, she seems to be progressively getting worse.
Worse before she'll get better, or just progressively worse?
Well, from our perspective, looking at her now, she is getting progressively worse. Whether she'll get better or not, we have no magic balls for her.
And how is she in her head about all of this? She's disheartened, to say the least.
Yeah. Well, I think, obviously she's going to have bad days. Why am I so miserable, and why can't I be out, and, doing all the things that she should be doing. But she is marvellous in that she'll keep focusing on trying to do something positive with this, and, we're trying, even for an eating regime now to help her, to eat the best of everything that we can do for her, anti-inflammatory foods and...
Does she have weight loss issues? She have bed sores?
No, her body swells. So some days she feels as if it's weight, but then the swelling will go down again. So, but no, she doesn't have any weight loss issues. And, she would be kind of sitting around a lot of the day, really.
It must get her down, though. I know if it were me, I'd be very depressed.
Of course it does. But, she's a very positive girl and always has been.
Has she spoken with other girls like her?
No, she hasn't. No, because we don't know anybody, close enough for distance-wise to talk to anybody, and I think because she's a bit older than a lot of the girls as well that we've come across in the group,
Okay, I'm going to pick this up after 10, guys. Unfortunately, I'm just very tight to 10 o'clock. Our lines are open at 1-850-104-106. We're talking with Michael Doherty and indeed Virginia, whose daughter Ciara has had a terrible time of it. Since the age of 17, when she took that vaccine, over 3 doses, which is the Gardasil Vaccine to prevent cervical cancer. This is one that's been raging for a number of years as to parents having to make up the mind of their own mind on behalf of their children, their young daughters. Do I or don't I allow this vaccination? Back after 10.
The Neil Prendeville Show with Nissan. You'll never look back with our pioneering innovation behind you. Looking for the Neil Prendeville Show? You found it. Red FM.
Yes, indeed. Lana, when you talk about the height of people, remember your mother would always say to you, sit up straight, or stand up straight. You need every inch you can get. Lines open at 1-850-104-106. Text 0868-104-106. It's always a worry whether it's MMR jabs, whether it's flu jabs, whether indeed it is a vaccination and a jab to stave off cervical cancer. This is a vaccine called Gardasil. I'm curious as to what the future will hold for Virginia's daughter Ciara, and I wonder if Michael Doherty has an opinion on that with regards to her condition. Michael, do you see it improving? Do you think that there's anything that can be done even outside of traditional Medicare?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things. One, I believe that before any vaccine should be given, there should be an assessment of the immunity of the individual. And, according to David Kirby, who did a lot of studying this, not just this vaccine, but others, said that there are 40% of children who are immunosensitive or
All right, hold on a second, because that's a chronic phone line, and it wouldn't be possible to continue under those circumstances. Let me ask you, Virginia, finally, have you any recourse to taking an action against the HSE? Did you take any legal advice in this matter?
Well, I suppose we didn't really deal with the HSE in that we got it with our GP, so I don't know, and I suppose we haven't really thought about that, because our aim really at the moment is all, we're just concentrating on trying to get Ciara well and trying to find somebody who will help her.
Yeah.
That I suppose that's our main thing at the moment. We're just focused in on trying to get her well.
But why don't the HSE give or insist that GPs give information to patients? They're not even patients, because your daughter went in healthy.
Absolutely. She did indeed, yeah. So I can't answer that really.
Yeah. So you're concentrating on improving her condition then?
Absolutely. That's our main aim at the moment.
And what kind of, are you confident in that regard? Are you made to feel confident?
Well, I suppose we're hopeful. And I just heard Michael O'Doherty talk there now about the immune system. We are trying to build up her immune system again. We are seeing an integrated medical practitioner who would be working with her, but it's trying to find something that will work for her.
Because I think he's saying, it's not a great phone line, unfortunately, Michael. Are you saying that 3 out of 10 young girls actually should stay away? Historically, data would show they should stay away from vaccination.
Well, no. Well, Ian, what I'm saying is that there are, children out there who are immunocompromised, and based on that, then there should be some little analysis done with these children. So, for example, if a young girl is suffering from asthma, if a girl has, has some maybe virus in the system at that particular time, or has any underlying condition, you don't know, what's going on in the individual. So, not all 2 individuals are the same. You see, the thing is that from a medical perspective, they'll do all the medical analysis and everything is fine. But I think when you look at where medicine is at now, I believe what's happening with the vaccine, with some people, is that either the preservative in the vaccine is damaging the microbial system of the gut bacteria, which in turn is breaking down that blood-brain barrier, that's what's leading to these types of fatigue-type syndromes and so on. And when I heard Virginia talking about her daughter swelling up and all that, when you can't process certain foods, then you're going to produce a lot of fluid to try and get rid of that. So I think she's right in going down the road, Neil, of an integrated approach and looking from the energy perspective, looking at the right nutritional approach, and they're the 2 key things. Minimizing the use of the likes of social media, computers, because people have a tendency to sit down and occupy themselves.
But she hasn't got the energy to do anything else. She literally is suffering such severe fatigue, she can't leave the house.
But the thing about it is, Neil, the brain takes a lot of energy. So what she needs to do is, yes, I think the integrated medical approach, yes, and obviously medicine can help, but I don't think it can, because what they're saying is it's antidepressants and kind of sleeping pills and other things they're prescribing to some kids. So that's not good enough either. What we need to do is, get that integrated medical approach, looking at the mindset, looking at creating a program for the life of, Virginia's daughter here, looking at creating the right program. And I would look to get the energies right, look to get the mindset focused, look to work with the right nutrition. Absolutely, Virginia, the key to it is getting the gut right, because our gut is going to be the main thing to get the proper food, get the right bacteria, as we've discussed many times. Neil and Professor Ferguson down there talked about this. We've got to get the right food as organically as we possibly can, cutting out the likes of the sugars and the glutens and the dairies and things like that. And I think slowly, people, these kids can begin to recover once the right focus is created. But it's the denial within the HSE, first the failure to provide information, and secondly from the local GP to say, well, there's no link. That's not the answer.
Years ago, the issue was with the MMR vaccine, wasn't it? Is that still knocking around that worry?
It is. Yeah, all vaccines are the same. But look at Neil, we talked about the swine flu vaccine, and we saw the association between that and narcolepsy in kids, and we know there are cases and there are lawsuits all around that now. So, every vaccine has a risk. Everything we put into our body, whether it's sugar, a vaccine, a drug, every drug has a side effect. So every drug we put into our system is going to create a reaction in the body. It's designed to that. We're not all the same. So every person is going to react differently. And for some whose immune systems are compromised, they're going to react in a certain way. And for Virginia's daughter, she has reacted to this vaccine. She sees it in a certain way. And we can't just dismiss that. We have to take it up as a real issue.
But you must feel very helpless and all alone, Virginia, though.
Well, we do. Having said that, once we did join Regret, I felt a bit better in that, she wasn't the only one. No, that's no consolation at the end of it all. But
what would you say to parents who are listening now, contemplating a cervical vaccination for their teenage daughter?
Well, what I would say is to research it and make an informed decision as to whether they want to vaccinate their daughter or not.
But you're asking them to take a gamble then?
Well, no, I suppose I can't tell anybody not to have the vaccine because I'm not a medical person, but I do think if they research it properly and read, all the information that's there, you can make a decision yourself.
What would happen if you just decided to decline it?
Sorry, what would happen?
Yeah, and just went for regular smears instead.
Well, I personally couldn't see anything wrong with that. I mean, that's what I would do if I had my way again.
All right, okay.
But that's just my own opinion on it.
Okay, well listen, good luck with that. I would love to stay in touch with you in the future, if that was okay with you, to see how Ciara is progressing.
Yeah, that would be great.
But thank you for raising public awareness on this most important issue.
Thanks a million, Neil, and
okay,
thanks for having me on.
Cheers. And if Micah can help you in any way, shape or form, I'm sure he would. Would you recommend then people to go for vaccinations, Michael, in general, or is that just too broad a sweeping question?
Yeah, as we look at Neil, you and I, we're adults, we're professional people. We know that medicine has a role to play in preventing of illness. I think what we need to do is not just throw it out there willy-nilly. I think we have to realise that there are some people out there who are sensitive and who have issues. Yes, I mean the whole thing, as far as the jury is out in relation to this, whether or not it does prevent it. I mean, maybe what a smear test, regular smear test, doing the job. I mean, they're saying that certain viruses are what lead to certain types of cervical cancer, and they're saying that these are the viruses, and that by getting the body's immunity, up to a stage where it can handle this virus, it won't cause the cancer. But I mean, the jury is out in all this.
But will she recover? Will she lead a normal life?
Yes, I would have no doubt about it. The right approach is taken, she can recover, and it can be time for some people. It can be time, for some people, Neil. But I think the right approach is taken, and certainly from Virginia's perspective, if I can be of any help, I can talk with her. And
why would Paschal Mooney say in the Senate that health professionals are protecting pharmaceutical companies?
Well, look, obviously Paschal has his own sort of reason for saying that. But a lot of the time, you see, Neil, multinationals are indemnified, against any type of lawsuits by government. So the bottom line is, these vaccines are given, what you would say, in good faith, certainly by the local GPs anyway, they're certainly given in good faith. They're not setting out to harm anybody.
It's not in their interest to be, or is it? I mean, is there financial recompense?
I don't think it's in the interest of the GP. I think in fairness, GPs are great. They're doing some fantastic work. I think GPs are, being provided information. But you see, when you look now at a lot of information coming out, a lot of lawsuits against multinational drug companies because the information is supplied to the local GPs and to the HSE, National Health Services, was flawed. And this is the issue. The same as around the swine flu vaccine we saw, where really this was a total scam in a lot of cases. Which has been well documented worldwide.
So what then are you saying to parents who have a teenage daughter?
I think Virginia makes a very valid point. I think be informed. At the very least, the HSE needs to inform the parent. And if there's a risk, then is the risk to the child who has some degree of compromised immune-wise, then that should be assessed.
But surely going for regular cervical smears would be a safer bet.
Yeah, well, look, that'd be my opinion. I'm not totally up to speed on that side, but that'd be my opinion that the regular smears by girls, you know. I mean, you've got to understand they're starting this at the age of 11 years of age, 11, 12 years of age. Some of them have got it older. I mean, Virginia's got it older, but they're starting 11, 12 years of age. And there's no doubt about it that we've seen this, and, I've even seen in Regret.ie, but we've seen this in our clinics. Girls coming in that are having issues with this.
And are you saying that in cases where girls are having issues like this, that they actually now have been prescribed tranquilizers?
Yeah, we've seen that situation where young kids are being told, look, it's psychological, it's this, that, or the other, and they're put on sleeping pills or they're put on antidepressants, and it's a kind of a follow-up. And
that's barbaric, I have to say.
Well, you see, that's the problem, and when you have Leo Varadkar, the Minister of Health, according to Paschal Mooney, saying, well, look, it's difficult for parents to communicate with this guy because simply he's saying, well, there's no link, and you can't just take that arrogant. He's just an ordinary human being. He's not a medical doctor. He's not he hasn't been involved in the health field. Just because he has ministers, the ministers over it, doesn't mean that he has the knowledge. So he's also, depending on the information coming from the multinationals. But what he can't ignore is the fact that right now the European medical agencies have announced, have launched
a review of Gardasil.
A safety review. That's something that he has to look at and just can't dismiss.
Okay, well, let's see where that goes with that. Thanks for taking the call for now, Michael. I'm obliged to you as always. Michael Doherty is available, and his website is the most excellent one, www.justimagine.ie. Of course, there was also the issue of the flu vaccinations, particularly for the elderly and the very, very young. That one raged on as well. I think that at this point in time, you need to be very, very careful before you decide to proceed with Gardasil. I don't know, as a parent, whether I would be willing to take a risk like that and have a daughter end up in the similar situation to Ciara's. I find that very, very upsetting. Very worrying, and it must be a very lonely place for the family to be, where they, went with something in good faith and found that 5 years later, this is the situation that their daughter is in. Her life has been put quite literally on hold, but not just that. She's almost like a prisoner within her own body, within her own home. And that's very sad, I have to say. Your thoughts on that, particularly if you have similar stories, 1-850-104-106. You can text 086-8104-106. Back after the break.
Call the Neil Prendeville Show now. 1850-104-106.
With Ireland's best-selling crossover, the Nissan Qashqai. You'll never look back.
Red FM.
I mean, think about this. Say as a parent of a teenage girl, your fear, of course, is that they will get in any way, shape, unwell. As a parent, that is a natural way to be. You would worry about things like breast cancer. You would worry about things like any kind of thing to do with the reproductive organs. You would worry about cancer of the cervix, because these are prevalent enough. So you would say, okay, the medical profession are saying that we should do this, so we must do this in order to keep you well, so that you will never get, say in this case, cervical cancer. All right, so that doesn't creep up on you, because it's treatable now, but won't be if it's advanced when it's discovered. So you take the vaccination, or you're literally giving it to your children, which is introducing the poison into their system to build up an immunity against the disease. Right? You put in a small little bit, the body reacts to it, builds up the antibodies to fight it, and you become, cervical cancer free. Or the potential isn't there to develop that. And then it goes all wrong in the case of, say, Virginia's daughter, Ciara. And then you're left all on your own with people denying culpability and refusing to help. And talking about, it's all in your head. You need to see a psychiatrist. Tranquilizers. Get a grip of yourself, stuff like that. I mean, it's quite worrying. It really and truly is. But when this happens,